Did James Churchward earn the rank of colonel? Part 1. This podcast will examine the evidence to answer the question, did James Churchward earn the rank of colonel? In the first part of this two-part presentation, we will examine the evidence that indicates James was a colonel. In Part 2, we will examine evidence to the contrary. Now, in almost every biography of James Churchward, it is stated that he served as a colonel in the Bengal Lancers and with the Royal Engineers. But what sources, other than what he wrote in his books, are available as proofs that he earned this rank? Well, newspaper clippings from his scrapbooks provide some support. For instance, the November 10th, 1924 edition of the American Standard periodical has an article under the title, Locates Eden in Lost Land, that identifies him as Colonel James Churchward in the text. The article further describes him as Colonel Churchward, formerly of the British Army, was educated at Oxford University and Sandhurst Military College. He is widely known as a geologist, archaeologist, metallurgical chemist, and as the inventor of vanadium steel, used for the armor plating of the world's navies and in automobile construction. An unfortunate mistake captioning his picture as Colonel James Churchward, but that sometimes happens. In a clipping entitled Flying Machines 10,000 BC from the Madras Mail and printed in India, James is identified as Lieutenant Colonel James Churchward. The article further states, Colonel Churchward, who is described as formerly of the British Army, educated at Oxford, declares that the original civilization of the Empire of the Sun, in Mu, its heretical or religious name, was, perhaps, the greatest that ever existed. The article was dated January 3, 1925, and was an announcement of the astonishing contents of 125 tablets discovered in India and translated by myself and other Buddhist scholars prove that the motherland of mankind was in a tropical continent larger than North America, known as Mu, which went to the bottom of the Pacific with the inhabitants and their templed cities 13,000 years ago. Another clipping from the scrapbook entitled Cradle of the Human Race and printed in Redgar, England in the Middleborough Standard uses identical words to describe James. Dated a week later, this article has a bit more context describing Mu and the awesome powers that advanced civilization once used. According to Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids by Peter Tompkins, it is related that James served in the Royal Engineers and as a colonel in the Lancers. The chapter on James also reveals that the final 6 chapters of James' biography by Percy Tate Griffith have been lost. Fortunately, the complete My Friend Churchy and His Sunken Continent is available. A version that was updated by Griffith's daughter, Joan, is available. Please visit our online bookstore to get the details to obtain your very own copy. Speaking of the biography, My Friend Churchy, Percy Tate Griffith wrote that he saw pictures of James Churchward in full military regalia. While James was known to be a good artist, he probably was not good enough to pass off one of his paintings as a photograph to Mr. Griffith unless they were old and faded. Also included in the scrapbooks were clippings of advertisements for WNYC. Although I am not aware of a complete listing of the programs that he did, James did read stories of his travels on the radio in 1925. Clearly, the management of WNYC thought he was a colonel if they included in their advertisements and listing of his programs. Another point to consider is that all the books authored by James that are on sale today have the title Colonel in front of his name. Certainly the publishers that receive income from his published works would not include his military title if it were not true. An article was published in 2001 by the World Explorer Club and authored by Joan Griffith entitled James Churchward and His Lost Pacific Continent. Lost Continent or Lost Cause? The article asserts that Peter Tompkins in The Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids reveals that James was a member of British intelligence, and due to the classified nature of his service, the British government has refused to acknowledge that he even served. This is the reason that no one can see his real records. If this were true, it would be very convincing. These are the proofs that support James' assertion that he was a colonel. If you or someone you know has further evidence, please send it along. In Part 2 of the podcast, we will examine the evidence that indicates that James Churchward was not a colonel. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.